Great Lakes, chain of deep freshwater lakes in east-central North America comprising Lake Superior, Michigan, Huron, Erie, and Ontario. They are one of the great natural features of the continent and of Earth. Although Lake Baikal in Russia has a greater volume of water, the combined area of Great Lakes, some 94,250 square miles, around 244,106 square kilometers, represents the largest surface of freshwater in the world, covering an area extending that of the United Kingdom. Their drainage basin of about 295,710 square miles, which includes the area of the lakes themselves and their connecting waterways, extends approximately 690 miles from north to south and about 860 miles from Lake Superior in the west to the Lake Ontario in the east. Except for Lake Michigan, the lakes provides a natural border between Canada and the United States, a frontier that was stabilized by a boundary waters treaty of 1909. It is a source of pride for both countries that there are no fortifications or warships along the boundary. Individually, lakes rank among the 14 largest in the world. They played a central role in European colonization and development of North America, and for decades have attracted people and industries. Lakes Erie and Ontario and the southern portion of Lake Michigan are now linked with large population concentration. The lakes have not benefited from this development, however, and have been seriously affected by pollution. Concern over the fate of lakes reached a high pitch in the late 20th century, with both the US and the Canadian government and individuals investing methods for resolving the consequence of years of misuse of lake waters. Lake Superior, the second in the world with 82,100 square kilometers. Michigan, the fifth in the world with 57,080 square kilometers. Huron, the fourth in the world with 59,600 square kilometers. Erie, 11th in the world with 25,670 square kilometers. Ontario, 14th in the world with 19,010 square kilometers. The Great Lakes form the western portion of larger St. Lawrence hydrographic system. This system extends generally eastward from the St. Louis River in Minnesota, which flow into the Lake Superior through the lakes and the St. Lawrence River and empty into the Atlantic Ocean at the Gulf of St. Lawrence. For a discussion of the system east of Lake Ontario, coming in video. The Great Lakes region of Northern America is a binational Canadian-American region centered around the Great Lakes that includes 8 U.S. states: Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, Minnesota, New York, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, and the Canadian province of Ontario. Canada's Quebec province is at times included as a part of the region because of St. Lawrence River. Watershed is a part of continuous hydrologic system. The region forms a distinctive historical, economic, and cultural identity. A portion of the region also encompasses the Great Lakes megalopolis. State and provincial governments are represented in the Conference of Great Lakes and St. Lawrence governors and premiers, which also serve as the Secretariat to the Great Lakes St. Lawrence Compact and the Great Lakes St. Lawrence River Basin Sustainable Water Resource Agreement. The Great Lakes region takes its name from the corresponding geographic information of the Great Lakes Basin. A narrow watershed encompasses the Great Lakes, bounded by watersheds to the region's north, Hudson Bay, west Mississippi, and east and south Ohio, part of Mississippi watershed. To the east, the rivers of St. Lawrence, Richelieu, Hudson, Mohawk, and Susquehanna form an arc of watershed east to the Atlantic. The Great Lakes region, as distinct from the Great Lakes Basin, defines a unit of subnational political entity defined by the U.S. state and the Canadian province of Ontario, encompassing the Great Lakes watershed and the states and improve bordering one or more of the Great Lakes. The settlement and economic expansion on both sides accelerated after 1825 opening of the Erie Canal and astonishingly successful public venture that effectively integrated markets and commerce between the Atlantic seaboard and the region. The region on both sides of the board became a vast research and design laboratory for agricultural machinery and mechanics. Owner-operator family farms transformed both demographics and ecology into a vast train of farmlands producing primarily wheat and corn. In western New York and northeast Ohio, the St. Lawrence, Mohawk, and Hudson River provided outlets for commercial corn and wheat, while the Ohio River led agricultural products from West Pennsylvania and South Ohio, Indiana, and Illinois journey downstream to New Orleans, mining primarily soft metal of copper, zinc, and lead, and timber to supply rapidly expanding sawmills that supplied lumber for new settlement. Agricultural and industrial products generated distinctive political and social cultures of independent Republican producers who consolidated an ideology of personal liberty, free markets, and great social visions, often expressed in religious terms and enthusiasm. The region's alliance of anti-slavery with free soil movement contributed to trips and agricultural foods that proved critical in Union's victory. The Homestead and Millions Act dominating federal land to extend the agrarian economic franchise and support state university modeled Western expansion and education for all future states. The British-Canadian London Conference of 1866 and subsequent Constitution Act of 1867 analogously derived from political and some military turmoil in the former jurisdiction of Upper Canada, which was renamed and reorganized in the new Dominion as the Province of Ontario. Like the provisions of the Ordinance, Ontario prohibited slavery, made provisions for land distribution to farmers who owned their own land, and mandated universal public education. Industrial production, organization, and technology have made the region among the world's most productive manufacturing centers. 19th century proto-monopoly such as International Harvester, Standard Oil, and United States Steel established the pattern of American centralized industrial consolidation and eventual global dominance, the region hosted the world's greatest concentration of production for oil, coal, steel, automobiles, synthetic rubber, agricultural machinery, and heavy transport equipment. Agronomy industrialized as well as in meat processing, packaged cereals products, and processed dairy products in response to disputes and imbalances of power resulting from so vast a concentration of economic power. Industrial workers organized the Congress of Industrial Organization, a coherent agricultural cooperative movement, and a progressive politics led by Wisconsin's Governor and Senator Robert LaFollette. State universities, professional social work, and unemployment and co-workers compensation were some of the region's permanent contributions to American social policy. The Great Lakes region has produced globally influential breakthroughs in agriculture, technology, transportation, and building construction. Silas McCormick's Reaper, John Deere's Steel Pole, Joseph Dart Elevator, and George Washington Snow's balloon frame construction are some of innovations that made significant global impact. The University of Chicago and Case Western Reserve University figured prominently in developing nuclear power. Automobile manufacture developed simultaneously in Ohio and Indiana and became centered in the Detroit area of Michigan. Henry Ford's movable assembly line drew a regional experience in meat processing, agricultural machinery manufacture, and the industrial engineering of steel in revolutionizing the modern era of mass production manufacturing. Chicago-based Montgomery Ward and Sears Rebar companies complemented mass manufacturers with mass retail distribution. Chicago, Detroit, and Cleveland carry important roles in fields of architecture. Chicago pioneered the world's first skyscraper, the home insurance building designed by William LeBron Jenney. In this engineering innovation established Chicago from that time on to become one of the world's most influential epicenters of contemporary urban and commercial architecture. Equally influential was the 1832 invention of balloon framing in Chicago, which replaced heavy timber construction requiring massive beam and great woodworking skill with precut timber. This new lumber could be nailed together by farmers and settlers who used it to build homes and barns throughout the western prairie and plains. Wisconsin-born Chicago-trained Sullivan apprentice Frank Lloyd Wright designed prototypes for architecture design from the commercial skyline atrium to suburban ranch house. German-born Peninsula immigrant John Liobling invented steel wire rope, a pivoted part of suspension bridge he designed and whose construction he supervised in Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, and Buffalo based on early successful canal aqueduct. His most famous project was the Brooklyn Bridge. Contributions to modern transport include the Wright brothers' early airplanes designed and perfected in their Dayton, Ohio Mechanics Workshop, distinctive Great Lakes freighters, and railroad beds constructed on wooden ties and steel rails. The early 19th century Erie Canal and mid-20th century Central Seaway expanded the scale and capacity of massive waterborne freight. Agricultural association joined the 18th century Grange, which in turn generated the agricultural cooperative that defined much of rural political, economic, and cultural throughout the region. Fraternal, ethnic, and civic organizations extended the cooperative and supported local ventures from insurance companies to orphanages and hospitals. The region was the political base and provided much leadership political parties in the region. The region's greatest institutional contributors were major corporate, labor, education, and cooperative organizations. It hosted some of the most influential national and international corporations of the late 19th and early 20th century monopoly age, including John Deere, Paul McCormack, Reaper, New York Central, and Erie Railroads. Carnegie Steel, U.S. Steel International Harvester, and Standard Oil. As a result of industrialization, the population became more concentrated into urban areas, in part to balance democratic representation against the economic and political power of these corporations. The region hosted industrial labor organizations, consolidated agricultural cooperatives, and state education system. The Big Ten Conference memorializes the nation's first region in which every state sponsored major research, technical, agricultural, and teacher training colleges and universities. The Congress of Industry Organization grew out of the region's coal and iron mines, steel, automobile, and rubber industries, and breakthrough strikes and contracts of Ohio, Indiana, and Michigan. The role of government also grew during the early 20th century. In the rural area, most people obtained food and manufactured goods from neighbors and other people they knew personally. As industry and commerce grew, goods such as food, material, and medicine were no longer made by neighbors but by large companies. During World War II, the region became the global epicenter of motorized land vehicles, including cars, trucks, and jeeps, as well as major supply of engine, transmission, and electrical components to the wartime aeronautics industry. Despite extreme labor shortage, the region increased mechanization and absorbed a large number of women and immigrant labor to increase its food production. Navigable terrain, waterways, and ports spurs unprecedented construction transportation infrastructure through the region. The region is a global leader in advanced manufacturing and research and development, with significant innovation in both production process and business organization. John D. Rockefeller's Standard Oil set precedents for centralized pricing, uniform distribution, and controlled product standards through Standard Oil, which started as a consolidated refinery in Cleveland. Cyrus McCormick's RIP and other manufacturers of agricultural machinery consolidated into International Harvester in Chicago. Andrew Carnegie's steel production integrated large-scale open hearth and Bessemer processes into the world's most efficient and profitable mills. The largest, most comprehensive monopoly in the world, United States Steel consolidated steel production throughout the region. Many of the world's largest employers began in the Great Lakes region. Mass marketing in a modern sense was born in the region. Two competing Chicago retailers Montgomery Ward and C. Roebuck developed mass marketing and sales through catalogs, mail order distribution, and establishment of their brand names as purveyor of consumer goods. The region's natural feature, culture institute, and resorts make it a popular destination for tourism. Advantages of accessible waterways, highly developed transport infrastructure, finance, and a prosperous market base make the region the global leader in automobile production and global business location. Henry Ford's movable assembly line and integrated production set the model and standard major car manufacturer. The Detroit area emerged as the world's automobile center with facilities throughout the region. Akron, Ohio became the global leader in rubber production, driven by the demand for tires. Over 200 million tons of cargo are shipped annually through the Great Lakes. According to Brookings Institution, if it stood alone as a country, the Great Lakes economy would be one of the greatest economic units on the earth. This region also contains the area urban planner called the Great Lakes megalopolis, which has an estimated 59 million people. Chicago is emerging as a third megacity in the United States after the New York City and Los Angeles metropolitan area, with a metro population approaching 10 million. Toronto is the largest city in Canada and the fourth largest city proper in North America, behind Mexico City, New York City, and Los Angeles. Cities along the Great Lakes have access to the Atlantic Ocean through the Central Seaway, making them international ports. Chicago is the largest economic and financial center. Chicago was named the fourth most important business center in the world in the Mastercard Worldwide Center of Commerce Index. The 2017 Global Finance Center Index ranked Chicago as the 24th most competitive city in the world, behind Toronto, also in the Great Lakes region, at 7th. Chicago Board of Trade listed the first ever standardized exchange-traded forward contracts, which were called futures contracts. As the World Financial Center it is home to major financial and futures exchange, including the Chicago Stock Exchange, the Chicago Board Option Exchange, and the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, which is owned along with the Chicago Board of Trade by Chicago CME Group. The CME Group, in addition, owns the New York Mercantile Exchange, the Commodities Exchange (INC), COMEX, and the Dow Jones Index, as well as headquarters of Federal Reserve Bank of Chicago, the seventh district of the Federal Reserve. Toronto is an international center for business and finance, generally considered the financial capital of Canada. Toronto has a high concentration of banks and brokerage firms at Bay Street in the financial district. The Toronto Stock Exchange is the world's seventh largest stock exchange by market capitalization. The five largest financial institutions of Canada, collectively known as the Big Five, have their global operational headquarters in Toronto. Outside of Chicago and Toronto, many other cities are host to financial centers as well. Major banks' headquarters are located in Ohio, including Huntington Bankshares in Columbus, Fifth Third Bank in Cincinnati, and Key Corp in Cleveland. Insurance companies such as Anthem in Indianapolis, Nationwide Insurance in Columbus, American Family Insurance in Madison, Wisconsin, State Farm Insurance in Bloomington, Illinois, and Progressive Insurance and Medical Mutual of Ohio in Cleveland. Thank you for being with us. Today we have focused about the Great Lakes region, USA. Toronto, Chicago, Lake Huron, Shores, Sandbanks Provincial Park, La Crosse Mountain, Split Rock, Lighthouse, Ottawa, Detroit. The 8 US states and 1 Canadian province shown in the map all have shores at least one of the Great Lakes. Largest metropolitan area: Great Chicago, Great Toronto, Metro Detroit, Great Cleveland, Metro Milwaukee's. States and provinces: Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, Minnesota, New York, Ohio, Ontario, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. Population: the total population estimated to be 85,011,000 people in USA and 14,755,211 from Canada, which add up to a total of 99,766,742 people from both US and Canada. And the demonym Great Lakers. Thank you very much for being with us. See you in other upcoming videos. Today we have focused about the Great Lakes of America. Thank you very much. Bye.